Velcro is one of those inventions that changed the world. It's also one of those inventions that no one really knows who invented. If you had to name an inventor from history, you might say someone like Thomas Edison. But even he didn't invent the light bulb. His name was just on the patent for it. This guy just happened to be in the right place at the right time and was able to capitalize on an invention that's been kicking around for a while. That's actually what makes his story so interesting. In 1941, Swiss engineer George de Mestral was walking through a park when he noticed burdock seeds sticking to his clothes. He took some of the seeds home and began to study them under a microscope. They were covered with tiny hooks that were gripping onto his fabric. He thought this was amazing and wanted to duplicate it with man-made materials. He eventually came up with 2 pieces of nylon fabric, one with hooks and one with loops. The combination of the two made a strong bond that could hold over 1,000 pounds. However, this wasn't exactly the invention we know today. You see, the hook and loop fasteners that we use today are actually a development of the original design that was patented by Swiss engineer George de Mestral. In fact, the first Velcro fasteners didn't even look anything like Velcro. Instead, they looked more like large metal or plastic clips. These clips were used primarily for industrial purposes, until the 1960s when Velcro began to be used in shoes. It wasn't until the 1970s when Velcro became popular as a household item. But why did it take so long? Well, it turns out that there were several reasons. First of all, people didn't really need or want Velcro in their everyday lives before the 1960s. Shoes were typically laced up or buttoned, and there wasn't much demand for a new type of fastener. Additionally, the manufacturing process for Velcro was quite complicated, which made it expensive to produce. Finally, Velcro was seen as a competitor to other fasteners like buttons and zippers, and these industries didn't want Velcro to succeed. As a result, it took until the 1970s for Velcro to become popular. Despite the obstacles, George de Mestral persevered, and eventually his invention would change the world. So how did this happen? Well, it turns out that Velcro was in the right place at the right time, you see. In the 1970s, there was a growing demand for convenience and practicality in clothing. People were looking for ways to make getting dressed easier, and Velcro was the perfect solution. Additionally, the manufacturing process for Velcro had been simplified, which made it cheaper to produce. Finally, the fashion industry was ready to embrace a new type of fastener, and Velcro was the clear choice. As a result, Velcro went from being a novelty item to a household staple in just a few years. But Velcro's popularity didn't last forever. In the 1980s, there was a backlash against Velcro, because people felt that it was too casual for everyday wear. However, Velcro continued to be used in niche markets, such as skateboarding and snowboarding.
Ow.
In recent years, Velcro has made a comeback and is once again seen as a cool and practical addition to clothing. Today, Velcro is a multi-billion-dollar industry with products used all over the world. From shoes to backpacks to patches, Velcro is everywhere. But Velcro isn't just a fad. It's a practical and useful invention that has stood the test of time. If you think about it, Velcro is one of the most simple inventions ever created. All it does is attach 2 pieces of material together. But before Velcro, there wasn't a convenient way to do this. People had to use pins, clips, or glue. But these methods were time-consuming or caused damage to the materials. Velcro solved this problem in a simple and elegant way. You may be wondering why it took so long for someone to invent Velcro. After all, it seems so obvious now. But remember that innovation is not always obvious. Most inventions are not immediately obvious. In fact, most inventors don't even know what they're going to invent next. They just come up with ideas and see where they lead. This is why it's important to be curious and open-minded. You never know what you might invent next. Velcro is a prime example of this. No one knew they needed Velcro until George de Mestral invented it. But once he did, people couldn't imagine why they'd ever lived without it. Some people say that Velcro is one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century, and it's hard to argue with them. Velcro has had a profound impact on our lives. It's made it easier for us to get dressed, carry our things, and repair our belongings. Velcro is also one of the most successful inventions ever created. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that's constantly growing. It's not just a fad. Velcro is a practical and useful invention that stood the test of time. But Velcro's success is not just because it's practical or useful. It's also because it's cool. Kids love Velcro because it makes them feel like they're superheroes. Velcro lets them attach things to themselves and feel like they're part of a team. That's why Velcro is still popular today. It's not just a fastener. It's a symbol of fun and adventure. Velcro is one of those inventions that makes you wonder why no one thought of it before. But that's the thing about great inventions. They seem obvious in hindsight, but they're not always easy to come up with. Velcro is a great example of this. It's a simple idea that's made a big difference in our lives. It's not just a fad. Velcro's here to stay. So the next time you reach for a piece of Velcro, take a moment to appreciate this amazing invention. It's a product of human ingenuity, and it's one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century. When George de Mestral first saw burdoc's seeds sticking to his clothes, he probably didn't realize that he was witnessing the birth of Velcro. His discovery of these tiny hooks and loops would revolutionize the way we fasten things together forever. With a little ingenuity and a lot of hard work, he turned a simple observation into a billion-dollar invention. Velcro's success story is an inspiration to us all. It shows us that sometimes the greatest discoveries are made by accident, and that one man is trash is another man is treasure. George de Mestral was a true innovator who saw opportunity where others saw only weeds. His invention has made our lives easier and more convenient in countless ways, and it continues to be a popular choice for everything from shoes to spacecraft. So the next time you grab your backpack or put on your favorite pair of Velcro sneakers, take a moment to appreciate the genius of this humble invention and the man who had the vision to see its potential. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.